Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata mustaqim. Sirata ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim. Waladdallin. Ameen. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise is due to Allah, the God and evolver, the cherisher and sustainer of all the systems of knowledge. The merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, the sole judge on the day of religion. We worship you only, and we turn to you only, begging assistance. Guide us on the straight way, the way of those on whom you bestow blessing, not those who incur wrath, nor those who go astray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Imam Salim. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, I openly bear witness that there is but one God, the one and only creator of the heavens and earth, the Lord of all systems of knowledge, whom we properly call Allah. I accept all of Allah's prophets and believe that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is a mercy to mankind and the seal of prophethood. Assalamu alaikum, family. Our speaker today is Hassan Muhammad. His topic is the great comeback of the steak and take. Brother George Shabir will not be with us today. He's actually attending the conference with the conveners, and so we will reschedule him. So we'll look forward to having him with us the next time. But today we have our brother Hassan Muhammad, and without further ado, we're going to turn the program over to him. Welcome, Brother Hassan. Take yourself off of mute.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. And let me bring up my presentation. And are you able to see the presentation, the first screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Again, my name is Hassan Muhammad. A couple of weeks ago, Sister Fitrah had asked me to do a presentation on some of our traditional businesses that we've had in our community over the years, and the relevance of how important those businesses were in our community years ago, and the fact that we're doing some things in terms of the title of the presentation, to come back at a steak and take. So let me just jump into the presentation. The name of the business that I own and operate is called Queens Steak and Take. And then we get the word Queens from the borough we started in, which was in Queens, New York. And Steak and Take, the name Steak and Take should be something that's very familiar to, if not all of us on the line right now. But we designated it as Queens in terms of our family businesses. Because if you remember, all of the businesses that we had in the Muslim community, they were independently owned and operated. So some of the, I say the Nation of Islam businesses that we had in the past, of course, the Steak and Take. We had the Whiting Fish, if you remember, it's called Whiting F&G. We used to import that in from Chile, I believe, and sell it. And then obviously we would sell it wholesale to people, frozen, but we also just cooked it in just about a lot of our meals. Of course, we have the bean pies. We have the bean pies, and that there was an assortment of different pies. You had the carrot pie, the carrot loaf. You had the salam restaurants that was usually attached to the masjids. And then you had the food co-ops. We used to have, maybe not as popular, but we used to have food co-ops where we would gather, as you know what a food co-op is, we would source food from different places at a lower price and sell it into the community. So the emphasis for this presentation is to initially speak about Steak and Take, but I'm gonna tie it back into all of these businesses. And there might be businesses that I'm not aware of. I was born and raised into this community. I've always been in this community, starting out in Nation of Islam. But I was a youngster when the Nation of Islam ended, that phase ended in our journey. So there might be businesses that I'm not aware of. So if that might be something for conversation later on. So in terms of Queen Steak and Take, this was my family business, our family business. My father started our individual steak and take in Queens, New York. That is a picture of him. His name initially was Levi 4X in the Nation of Islam, but he changed his name to Munir Muhammad. We started at our location in 1972. And as far as I know, we are the longest tenured or running steak and take in the history that I know of. I'm pretty certain that's true, at least on the East Coast. We were in that same location from 1972 to 2019. So I think that's closing in almost, I think that's 47 years. We closed it in 2019. My father passed. He returned to Allah in 2015. But we had long saw that the circumstances changed, and that was not favorable for us to kind of remain in business. The number one thing that changed was the neighborhood changed. We saw the neighborhood change over the years. I mean, just being there for 50 years, almost 50 years, we saw the neighborhood change different ways, different times. We went through the violence, the crack epidemic, welfare reform. We also saw recently, from this late 90s, just a migration from New York for African Americans. So our target audience, obviously, customers have been African Americans, usually African Americans that are more conscientious of what they eat. So you're talking about African Americans that, are gainfully employed. They are conscious, again, of what they eat. They're conscious of supporting businesses, of Black-owned businesses. So we started to have a flight out of Queens, or just in New York in general, to southern states. So this is some of our history. On the right is actually a picture of my father. I think this would probably be in the late 70s. And I'm only saying that because that's me in the corner right there. And I'm looking at myself, and I'm probably about 10 years old at that time. But if you look at the menu board, we used to call it the Philly style steak. If you can see it, it's $1.50. So it's $1.50. You got a bean pie up there for 58 cents. I'm not sure why 58 cents, so, and you see a cheeseburger at 75 cents. If you look to the upper left is Buy and Read. I'm probably at the time it was the, I don't think it was the Bellali News yet, but it was probably Muhammad Speaks in that time and things of that nature. And to the far left is me as I'm probably around 18, 19 years old at that time. And that's my nephew there. He's much older now. So that's me. So the bottom line, I've always been there with my father since we opened. We opened when I was 5 years old. So in 72, I would have been like 5 years old. And I remember that day. I remember the day even before we opened, and it seems like it was the other day, because we started actually before we opened in 1972. We used to sell food from the back of the family station wagons. If you remember those station wagons, they would fold down kind of the bench in the back, and we would have a grill there. It wasn't a flat top grill. It was like a charcoal grill. And we wasn't selling steak and takes. We were selling franks. In New York, we call them franks. And we always had a problem getting water, because you needed water to operate that operation. I don't know, for the grill, whatever. I'm not sure why. And we would ask people, when you're parked in the corner and you see someone that has a house or apartment, and we would have to ask them, can we get some water from you? And it usually with myself and my brother going up, knocking on someone's door and saying, can we get some water? And sometimes people were nice about it, and sometimes people wasn't so nice about it. But it's something we didn't want to do. So right before we opened up on Linden Boulevard in 1972, I see my father go into this location. It's closed at the time. And he goes in there and gets water and comes out. So I'm 5 at the time, and you know how kids are, we're inquisitive. And I said, well, how did you go in that place? You know, how did you? He just told, and as parents at that time, you know, they just said, don't worry about that. And then about 2 weeks later, we opened. So he was opening it. He was in the process of opening it, and that from that point on, you know, we had a base, and from that base, you know, after school, you know, I grew up going to the University of Islam. You know, the bus picked me up from our home, but it dropped us off there in every day, and we worked in that business from the, you know, all my life. I've been working in that business. Even going off to college, you come home, you work in the business. And it was always a source of joy for me that we had our own business. I never worked for anyone until I was 20 years old. When, you know, as an engineer, I'm an engineer, and I had some internships. That was the first time I had went to work for someone else as an engineer when I was 20. But, you know, when I came home from school, I made sure that I gave my father a break. You know, he could relax and go, you know, relax and don't have to be there every day. On the weekends when I was in high school, um, every weekend, my brothers and I, we would go there. You know, it was known that from Friday night until Sunday night, that's where we were at. We took our father's place. And even when I lived in different cities, I would come home, you know, try to come back every other weekend. You know, if I'm in DC, just drive up or take the Greyhound bus every other weekend. So it's a family business that was able to. My mother did not work. She never worked a day in her. Well, she never worked since she had children. Since she got married, had children. My mother. It's 8 of us, so they had 8 children. And from this one business, we all went to college, and we weren't rich by no standard of means, but we weren't poor either. So it was a neighborhood business. It's known, you know, the rappers used to come through there to try to do videos and things of that nature. So we were there for close to 50 years. Just moving on. So where are we at right now? Like I said, we closed in 2019. And, you know, it's always been my dream since a young child to continue this business, to make it grow. And it just didn't feel right in my soul that this business was not going to continue on some level. And I just didn't see a way where it would continue because, you know, the environment that we're living in right now is very strange and very difficult. As you notice, if you might notice, a lot of businesses, large businesses, are leaving the urban areas. They're just packing up. It's a lot of challenges to run a business, especially a restaurant that's open to the public, because you have so many type of unscrupulous people in the street right now. It's dangerous. So a restaurant is even more so open to the public because traditionally you open late at night. It's random. Anyone can just walk in. There's issues with bathrooms. The homeless want to use the bathrooms. They want to live in the bathroom and things of that nature. So I came up through, I mean, I shouldn't come up with the option. I came up with some ideas of how we could reopen. And we reopened on January 4th, 2023, this year, in Washington, D.C. And you might say, why Washington, D.C.? I've been living, I went to Howard University, so I heard there was a lot of talk about what school you went to um, at the beginning of the presentation. So, you know, I'm a Bison from Howard University. And, you know, I went to Howard, pretty much stayed in the Washington, D.C. area since graduating from college. And so I live down here. And this is my home. This is my adopted home, Washington, D.C. And I always thought Washington, D.C. would even be better for our business than New York because of the demographics in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, Southern Maryland, and things of that nature. So we reopened in 2019, and these are some of our reviews that you see here. Just, you know, we have been totally highly accepted in the whole area, not just by our community, but just really crossover. People of different ethnic groups, Asians, Caucasians, Spanish. A lot of people are just coming in and buying this food and really, really enjoying it. They're saying they never tasted anything like it. So it's really just a blessing from Allah. It's nothing else. It's no other description to say is that this is just a blessing from Allah. So now I did do something differently this time. As I spoke to, there was difficulties with owning or operating a brick and mortar. So I developed Steak and Take into a virtual business. So we are e-commerce virtual business. And what that means is this: the customers do not have a physical location that they come to get the steak and takes. The order is placed on a delivery platform. It's either on my website, it's either on Uber Eats, on Google, DoorDash, and things of that nature. So we receive an order and the food is prepared in what we call a ghost kitchen. This is either called, you can call it a cloud kitchen, a ghost kitchen, or a commissary kitchen. So just to give you a little bit background, food trucks have to have a commissary kitchen that they are associated with. They have to have that by law. The health department stipulates that, and regardless of what state you're in. So a commissary kitchen is a big kitchen that's just shared. You pay your monthly fees, and then you have rights to go cook in there when you like to, or you can have set appointments. That did not suit me well because I didn't want to use equipment. I didn't want to use shared equipment. Our dietary requirements and just waiting your turn to use the grill. That just didn't suit me. So the kitchen that I'm in is a building that has 50 kitchens. And I have my own individual kitchen where I keep where the equipment in that individual kitchen is just my equipment. And I'm not sharing it. I have a door that locks and things of that nature. So the food is prepared in that ghost kitchen. I'll go a little bit more in details about that. And then the food is delivered to the individuals that order it. So right now, we have a 12-mile radius that we deliver food to. So 12-mile radius around my location, which is in Washington, D.C. is not too far from the masjid on New Jersey Avenue, and the food is delivered. And so from the time we prepare the food, by the time we receive an order, prepare the food, and the customer receives the food is about 30 minutes. So one of the things that I like about this model, there's no cash involved whatsoever. You might say, why I don't want cash? Cash sometimes is a problem when you run a cash business with theft and organization. No, it's a no contact business. So there's no person-to-person contact in this business. So once we prepare the food, we literally give it to a robot. There's a little robot that comes to your kitchen to pick it up. And then that robot takes it to a locker, a food locker, and places it in the food locker. And then when the delivery driver comes up, he puts in a code for that particular order, and that locker just opens. He takes the food. So this is important in terms of COVID. When COVID came in 2020, this type of business concept really picked up because it reduces the transmission of potential COVID or any other type of contagious diseases. The other part is that now you're in, I call it a cage because it doesn't have windows. My kitchen does have windows, but most of them don't have windows. So you have to ask yourself, how do people find you? So social media is key to interacting with customers. So we're interacting with customers through social media. So this is a delivery partner. This is a picture of the food. So one of the things that we did was we partnered with Uber Eats exclusively. This was important from the perspective of dealing with one partner versus all of the partners. They gave us better terms, like lower commission rate for delivery. They partnered with advertising and promoting our business. And they actually approached me. They said, hey, what would it take for you just to use Uber Eats? And we sat down and we discussed it, and we came up with an agreement, and that agreement is working well for us right now. So this is one of our Uber Eats advertisements, just stating that we are exclusively on Uber Eats. We're giving a promotion, take 50% off of your next 2 orders. I do want to do a sound check to make sure everyone's hearing me. Can someone confirm they're hearing me and seeing the slides?
We hear you. We see the slides. You're doing very well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, great. All right. So now this is the social media. That is an actual picture of the steak sandwich. That's the steaks. We call it steak and take. We've added a little bit of flavor to it with adding the green peppers and the red peppers. But as you can see, the orange sauce, that's your traditional sauce that goes on a steak and take. And it's very much different than what you would get in Philadelphia. And it's much better, in my opinion. And so some of the things we do on social media, again, the Queen Steak and Take, that's the logo. You can order delivery or pick up. So at our location, you can come pick up, but when you come pick up, it's like a kiosk that you check in. The food is already in the locker, so we wouldn't even see that customer that's coming to pick up something we just made. And we do a buy one get one free for your first, your first order. We do a buy one get one free. And as you can see, we're open to 3 a.m. in the morning. So our busy time is from 9 p.m. at night. It starts to 3 a.m. because your brick and mortars have closed. So brick and mortars are closing down in DC. Brick and mortar restaurants are closing down in DC at 8, 9. They are closed by 10 o'clock. You can't get anything to eat in DC, like walking up to someone after 10 p.m. in DC. It's very difficult. And that's because of safety concerns. Now, I'm in what we call a cloud kitchen. The cloud kitchen is the world's largest provider for ghost kitchens. The company I deal with is called Cloud Kitchens. You can Google them, which I would suggest. They just cloudkitchens.com. So again, a ghost kitchen, you call it a ghost kitchen because you can't see it. It's invisible, right? Or they call it a virtual kitchen, but they all kind of are the same thing. And so you can hear cloud kitchen, you can hear virtual kitchen, you can hear ghost kitchen. So what is a cloud kitchen? They do this is a comparison between a cloud kitchen and a brick and mortar. This actual space that you actually have in the cloud kitchen is about 200 square feet. Mine is 250 square feet. And that's about the size of a large food truck. And I'll show you some pictures here. So this is just a comparison between opening up this virtual kitchen versus a brick and mortar. If you try to buy a McDonald's franchise, it might take you over almost $2 million just to get started. And if you just open up a regular brick and mortar, you're talking about a few $100,000 just for the build out. So with a cloud kitchen, your staff that is required is less. The reason why it's less is you don't have what we call the front room staff. You don't have the greeters, you don't have the cashiers and things of that nature. You have a smaller space. So a typical restaurant that's doing the same amount of volume would need about double the staff that a cloud kitchen would need. Okay. So weeks to launch this. They say about 6 weeks, but it's a little longer. I would say about 2 months, 2.5 months from the time you sign your agreement to your launch. The investment is considerably less. So you're talking about $30,000 to start, plus the purchase of your equipment. And they estimate that you have a break-even point of about six months. And I do see that. So everything that they're putting up here, this is what they kind of sold me on initially. And I did see this in one way or the other. So, and I wouldn't put it up here if I didn't realize that myself. So this was accurate. This is accurate information. And this is from their website. So they have the locations. The nice thing is they have over 50 locations throughout the United States. But I think they have more than 50. I think that's something old. They probably have about 70 or 80 locations throughout the United States. If you can just look at this map, I'll leave this up for a while, and you can see that they have a number of locations. You can maybe look at in your area to see if you have locations. Because, if you want to be in a culinary business, restaurant business, a lot of people just have a lot of recipes that they have. It doesn't have to be a steak and take. It could be any type of business, any type of restaurant business. This will be a great opportunity if you were thinking about doing something like this, but you wasn't sure about the financial commitment or how it would work. This is great. In the New York area, you see they have 10 plus locations. That's the Northeast for 10 plus locations. They have most of the locations are in the West. If you see California, right in the state of California, they have 25 of these locations. So this is pretty much the new future trend for restaurants. McDonald's and those type of businesses are trying to maneuver themselves into these type of facilities. We do have a number of enterprise accounts. An enterprise account would be like a McDonald's or Wendy's. Burger King is in the location that I'm in. Chick-fil-A is coming, and Starbucks is coming. So even Starbucks is coming to these locations. They just see it as a better way. 50% of McDonald's business is they don't want customers in their stores anymore. McDonald's, they're doing everything they can do to just get rid of that. I just read an article for McDonald's annual report that they're going to be they're going to be eliminating the ability to refill your sodas. In the lobbies of most McDonald's, you can just keep going back up, getting refills. They're getting rid of that. And if you go into a lot of the modern McDonald's, they have a kiosk. When you walk in, they have a kiosk right in the lobby. And you really don't have anyone at that counter to take your order right now. And they're experimenting with robotics to make the orders, prepare the orders, bag the orders up. So this is the future. Restaurants are becoming automated. So again, these are the locations. If you see like a number, like in Texas, you have 10, you have 5 in Dallas, and then 5 in Houston. And I'm not sure if these are the exact locations, but these are what they have. Again, I'm on the East Coast, so I'm looking at, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and things of that nature. So this is a picture. On the left is actually our kitchen. It's a little messy, but I didn't have a lot of pictures of us. That is actually my son working there. So this is he's the 3rd generation of steak and takes for our family. And he likes it. He likes being there. He corrects me a lot of times. I'm tired, and he's doing a really good job. I really wanted to give him something for him. And again, he's going to be 18 years old next month, and he's never worked anywhere else but for me, for his family. That really gives a young man the confidence to really be what he's supposed to be in life. That he's not, he's the boss. He's the boss. He takes responsibility. He can go there without me and run a shift just like he's doing in this picture, and understand what he's doing and run a business just like I did for my father growing up. So I really that was really the driving force for me to continue this business, because I wanted to make sure that he had something, even if he goes off to do something else in life, this is his foundation. So on the right is the picture of the kitchen, somewhat of a picture. Those are my main tools that I use. On the far right is the grill, and then you have the deep fryers. And those are the only cooking instruments that we use: a grill and a deep fryer. And then we have a lot of refrigeration there, freezers, refrigeration, prep counters, and things of that nature. You do have to know how to optimize the space. You have to, and that's one thing I'm learning now, is to better optimize the space. And when I say optimize the space, buy equipment that is better optimized. If you look at the grill right now, that's a stand. But now I'm going to be I have purchased or replaced that stand with a refrigerated unit that is the stand. So the grill stand sits on top of the refrigerator, and all of your items that you want to use are just immediately right there. So that saves a lot of space. So coming soon, this is our new location that we're going to be opening, inshallah, next month. It was supposed to open in October, but they were delayed with some things. This is in Alexandria, Virginia, which is Northern Virginia. It's about 20 minutes from our current location. And we're going to be, inshallah, this will be as successful, if not so successful, more successful as our current location. The concept here is that we are positioned that each one of these locations are going to have a 12-mile radius. So they will overlap with each other, but we'll be able to cover all of Washington, D.C., all of Northern Virginia, some parts of Southern Maryland, and some parts of mid-Virginia that we'll be able to cover here. Okay. And we have the equipment already here. This is a shot that we took a couple of months ago. Now the floors are in, most of the equipment's in. We're just waiting for the licenses and the permits. Let me just go back here. So how does this connect back to us and our community needs? So what are our business needs? I think that we have to focus in on having businesses that provide meet our community needs. And I say that because we was given the blessing from our early times as Muslims to have businesses that are really good businesses, that have good products. So not just the steak and take, the bean pie. The bean pie, we should develop that into a world-class product where it's in supermarkets. You can order it online. You can, it should be something that represents our community. And these businesses would be a great source of income for the masjid. We need to have businesses that meet our daily needs. We have to get back to that. When we initially, as a community, as a child growing up, we went to each other to get our basic needs. We had grocery stores that was owned by people in the community, restaurants, of course, products and services, the food co-op, the fish. And not only did we buy it as a community, but other people looked for that. When they saw our products, they knew it was quality. We really had organic products before they even talked about organic food and things of that nature. We had that. Again, we have to pass on this knowledge that we have. There's so many people in the community, but they're getting older in age. They are pioneers. They know how to make the carrot cake. They know how to make the bean pies. They have recipes. But if we as a community do not keep that alive and keep these businesses, we're going to lose that knowledge. So we want to pass on our knowledge that we have to the next generation. And it's better to pass it on with a working business than just a recipe written down. We want these businesses to be up and running, where they can be source of income for the masjid. Because when we have community needs, financial needs, then the businesses are the ones that are supposed to support most of the financial needs of the masters, the schools, our Sister Claremont Muhammad schools. We need to get this money from businesses. So we have to focus on the blessing that we've had from Allah. Allah blessed us with great products. The steak and take is being overwhelmingly accepted. One of the things we do in the community in DC, we have an 8th Street Festival every year. We've done it twice, where there's about 150,000 people actually attend this festival, and we sell the bean pies there mostly, and they go crazy over them. I'm talking about people that never had a bean pie. They taste it, they come back, give me 2 more, 3 more. The bean pies are organic. They vegan also for the most part. So before anyone was talking about organic and vegan, we had these products in our breads and things of that nature, but we have to capitalize on that. And that's really what the point of this presentation is that when I felt in my heart was I didn't want a steak and take. I didn't want steak and take to die. That people talk about. Remember steak and take. Remember steak and take. We wanted to keep that alive for our community because it is a blessing from Allah, and that is the point of the presentation. I'll open it up, sister. You can open it up for questions at this time if you like.
Thank you so much for that presentation. So I'm going to ask you if you can. There you go. Stop sharing your screen. I thank you so much for that presentation. As you were going through, I was just thinking about the fact that this is like the new wave or the new spin, right, on the steak and take, being able to have it operate in this virtual space, and that really technology is allowing us to do these kinds of things, and we don't necessarily have to have what we traditionally do die, right? Because the format of it is changing. We can then move with how the restaurant industry is shifting. And as you stated, that's shifting into these virtual models where you can, pick up your phone and order some food and have it show up to your home. And why shouldn't we also be able to utilize those platforms for many of the businesses that we already have in our disposal? You mentioned, being able to order a bean pie. That's coming. I know a secret. I know a secret that some people may not know. So that is coming. Okay. But I do appreciate you for giving this presentation, because I feel like it opens our minds up to some possibilities that we didn't maybe think were possible before. It's like, okay, I got to get a truck. I got to get a kitchen. I got to get a space. I have to do these things. And yes, you do have to do those things. You mentioned the ghost kitchen, but there are some options. And so while we are sort of going through this part of the presentation, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I did see a few in the chat, and so I'll see if I can go ahead and pull them up. Someone says, do you have any locations coming to Delaware in the near future?
Okay. Do you want me to answer that?
Absolutely.
So just to tell you, I want to share this with you. Tomorrow, the Cloud Kitchen organization. So they are a $2 billion organization. As you see, they have probably 70 locations around the country. They are flying in to meet with me tomorrow to ask me to become an enterprise account. And an enterprise account is an account that has 20 or more locations. So I asked them, I said, well, I have one getting ready to have a second location. How do I qualify for that? And they said, we see what you're doing here. We see your potential. So we want to give you the resources to become an enterprise account. So, and what they're seeing is the reviews that what people are saying, and they also seeing a repeat business. So when you're in this kitchen, you're totally integrated with them. So they see, Uber Eats sees how much business I make, how the reviews are, who the customers are, and so does this organization. It's a three-pronged organization. So they saw what popped in their minds was they saw the repeat customers, because on delivery apps, it's usually like a hit and miss, like people just popping up to order something for that moment, and whoever's available, whoever may have the special best deal, they order. They usually don't reorder from that place anymore. But what they saw was half of our customers in the first 6 months were repeat customers. So people just kept coming back. You have people coming back multiple times throughout the day ordering. And so the answer is, we are looking for additional, we are going to be growing, inshallah, to an enterprise account where we would have multiple locations. I'm not sure if we're coming to Delaware. I do not know if they have a location in Delaware. And but that doesn't mean we wouldn't eventually. Eventually, we hope to really focus on the East Coast first, from New York down to Atlanta. That's the focus.
Okay. And so as you're focusing on that, add Raleigh or in Durham to your list, because there was a question in there about coming to that area as well.
Charlotte, North Carolina is a target city for us. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice, nice. So one of the things I wanted to point out too is that we're hearing some terminology that we probably as a community haven't heard before. And so that's also sort of like a nice education around where we could go in business, whether it's the food business or some other business venture, right? You mentioned cloud kitchens. We may not have necessarily heard of something like that before. I know some other terms are like a shared kitchen and things like that. So it's good for us to hear those things as well, because as you stated earlier, these are ventures that could help to support the masjids, right? And I wanted to bring that up because I think we have to, as a community, sort of get back to that place where we see business as not just the personal gain that I receive from going into business, but that I'm also now in a position to support institutions that I believe in, right? And so when you go into business, it's sort of like this hand in hand responsibility that you take up. It's, yes, I have to be successful in this business to feed myself and my family, but I'm now also charged with supporting the institutions that are important to me. Can you sort of build that out a little bit more too?
Right. So, community business is an arm of our community. And that's just the bottom line. The businesses have to be an arm of our community, just like the schools have to be an arm. Businesses have to, because schools and the masjid have to provide substance for them, and you have to just meet the needs of your community. I mean, every one of our masjids should really have a supermarket that's associated with it, because we have maybe 500 families that's associated with a masjid, right? So if a supermarket just has 500 families that's going to shop with it and spend $400 or $500 a week or whatever your budget is, that is going to make sure that supermarket survives. You have a base. From day one, when you open your door, you have a base of customers that's going to support that supermarket. So it's going to survive. And then the community knows that it's getting quality products from that supermarket, because we're not going to sell our people products and services that are not halal. And I use the word halal in terms of lawful, right? So that's it. I saw another question about my contact information. I can tell it to you right now, but maybe someone can put it in the chat.
Yeah, so if you, that was going to be my next request. If you could put it in the chat, or if you want me to put it in the chat, I can do that.
Okay, my cell phone number is 301-467-6955. 7420. But if you can text me prior to calling me, because I get a lot of calls, spam, and so 301-467-7420. And my email address is just Hassan, HASSAN _Muhammad AD at iCloud.com.
iCloud?
iCloud.com, yes.
Got it. So I'm putting that in the chat for everyone who is interested in the possible opportunity to duplicate this business, right? Because that's what this is about. It's about being an inspiration for each other to be able to duplicate this in various parts of the country. You talked about the enterprise account and having more locations. And so we know that your aspiration is to spread your business to reach different markets, but there's opportunity for all of us, right? To do something unique with something that we're connected to. So that's what today is about. I have requests for Connecticut. They're looking for you, brother.
Okay. Any
go ahead. So I don't see any questions in the chat. If there are, if you want to raise your hand and ask a live question, we're open to that too. But if there are any other questions, please place them in the chat. I'm seeing one now. Are you proposing this as a franchise?
Okay. Not at this time, no. I don't think the franchise model works for our communities per se. That's why we have, if you look at the franchise opportunities for most businesses in terms of the African-American participation is very low. Like if you go and say how many franchise ownership does McDonald's have, Burger King is very low. I'm going to use the model, and I am using the model that Chick-fil-A uses, is that they own operators. So I take a person that is dedicated to the business, that has proven himself to be a reliable asset to the business, and I turn that kitchen over to that person, and we'll do a profit sharing with that person, and that's really, so we're going to be doing that as we go from the first kitchen to the second kitchen. A person has been identified as a person that would be responsible for the current kitchen, and they will receive profit sharing, decision-making abilities, ownership, and things of that nature. So that's the best model, I think, going forward. So Chick-fil-A used to say you have to work in a Chick-fil-A for 2 years, go through all of the training, be obviously a person of value, and then that person really took over that Chick-fil-A, but the Chick-fil-A was still owned by the operation. So that's the model that I would be using, at least initially.
Okay. Yeah. And that's important to know. I know some people are interested in franchising, and that, as you said, that works for some things and perhaps not for others. So I do have another question in the chat. And do you have bean soup? And I'll couple this because this is sort of together. So do you have bean soup? And besides vegan desserts, what other vegan items do you sell?
So that's a great question. So in terms of bean soup, we do have a bean soup that my mother's recipe, my mother's version of the bean soup. So we do have that. We haven't put that on the menu yet. In terms of the other vegan items that we have a vegan steak and take. That it's a steak and take that's all vegan. The cheese, the sauce, the meat is vegan, and it's going well. It's going well. So we have that.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of like the example of how we shift, right, with what's happening around us, right? Because we wouldn't have necessarily, as you mentioned earlier, right, been naming things vegan or adding these other options just out of nowhere. As you even stated, some things that we already had were vegan or vegetarian, right? And so now that these are buzzwords, we have to be mindful to make these shifts because it's about the community need, right? So if we're not aware of what that is, then we potentially are not providing the products from the point of view of the customer. So it's good to know that you're moving in that vein. So I do have Sister Aziza with her hand raised. I'm going to bring her on so she can ask her question. Come off of mute, Sister Aziza. I can't hear you. There you go.
Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I originally wrote it in the chat, but not knowing how to do these phones, it never came up. But my question was what he had just answered. What about the bean soup? That's what we first started off with. Bean soup, bean soup, bean soup.
That's right. And it's very good. I mean, if you go to Whole Foods, I get some soups from Whole Foods and things that they just do not compare to the bean soup. They just don't. I mean, maybe I'm being biased, but the bean soup, I mean, that's a great product in terms of a concept of being health conscious. And we have to know how to make those things. I have 5 sisters and they all make it differently. So I have to pick one that I'm just like, how did mommy make the bean soup? And I made it for the masjid a couple of times. I see Ma'am Salim there. I made it for our local masjid a couple of times in the winter, but it's just quite. But the point is, it's just not my mother's, and so we have to be careful about losing. And my mother's passed, so we have to be careful about losing these blessings that we have. We really do as a community. We have to really be conscious of this and saying, we were blessed with things. And if we don't take advantage of these blessings that Allah gives us, he's not going to give it to us. We're going to lose it. You lose the blessing. So, that's my point of the presentation a little bit. Thank you, sister. Did you mention something about Atlanta also?
So I see there was someone who says, come to Atlanta with your vegan steak and take. So that's a request, brother.
Right. Atlanta is our target city that we will be, inshallah, going to. I have a lot of family in Atlanta. So we're definitely looking at that. Would be the first major city we go to. And they have 4 locations. This Cloud Kitchen organization has 4 locations in Atlanta. You don't have to deal with them, but since I'm dealing with them, I just deal with them for the most part.
Right. And so there's another question in the chat. Do you ever plan to operate the business during the regular work day, like a 9 to 6?
Oh, we open at 10 in the morning. So we're open from 10 in the morning to 3 in the morning, 17 hours. I'm just saying our busy time is from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., those 6 hours. That's the busiest time, but we're open every day. We're open every day.
Got it. Okay. I do have a hand raised for an iPhone. So I'm going to go ahead and take you off of mute. I won't be able to bring you on the screen because I don't see a picture, but I'll take you off of mute. You can go ahead and ask your question. And so I'm sending the request to come off of mute, whoever requests with their hand raised from an iPhone. There you go.
All right.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Jana from Charlotte. Brother Muhammad, I heard you mention earlier on something in reference to Charlotte, North Carolina. So yes. Are you targeting Charlotte also? Because, Charlotte is really booming, booming, booming. And we need more Muslim businesses down here. And I'm targeting our own masjid and our own community, first of all, because we should be on the front line, but to have other enterprises in our community come down and establish it would be like, oh boy, we need to get on board and doing something our own selves down here as a community. So you plan to come to Charlotte in the future?
Charlotte is a definite city. It could be, I'm thinking of things in my head. So right now, if you have to do due diligence when I'm making these decisions, but our next location is going to be Richmond, Virginia, inshallah. And then the next one after that would be Charlotte. So we could be potentially in Charlotte in 2024. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, and that's where the sister is referencing. Yeah, so I think this is great. I think this is wonderful for us to see it happening, right? Know that someone is doing this. And sometimes we find the comfort in knowing that someone else is attempting this and they're wanting this to go forward in a way that moves with the industry, moves with the times, moves with the technology. And it gives us confidence, right? To know that we could attempt this same thing. There's a lot of people in the chat who are very thankful for this presentation. There's sort of this nostalgia that comes with seeing the pictures that you shared earlier. People are remembering the H&G whiting fish. They're remembering the bean pie, they're remembering the steak and take and all that was established during the time that we were connected with the Nation of Islam. And so I have plenty of people in the chat who are thankful for what you have shared with us today. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So one just popped us just to see what this is saying. Okay, so it says the 12-mile delivery radius might that 12-mile radius extend, or might more cloud kitchens need to be established? So that's about the cloud kitchens. Are there options for more of those coming, or can the radius be extended?
So the radius that you have is not based on the cloud kitchen. The radius comes from the delivery platform like Uber Eats and DoorDash. And you have to negotiate with them what radius they're going to get you. Okay, so, but the reason why those radiuses are attached, they are going to only put these in high traffic areas. So areas that has a lot of potential for delivery. So you won't see this in a rural area right now, these concepts in a rural area. You don't see them really in the suburbs and things of nature. They're going to be in major metropolitan areas. So Richmond, Baltimore, obviously New York City, California, Atlanta, Miami, those types of places right now.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Those are major cities, so they're going to target those places initially.
But 12 miles is a big radius for delivery because you're delivering people food and you want to keep it warm and things of that nature. So you have to ask yourself how long, depending on the area, how long does it take to travel 15 miles? Would the product be, appetizing at that point? But in terms of what this business has taught me, this part of the business is that the e-commerce social media. So every business that we are doing today, you have to have an e-commerce social media aspect. So regardless of what business you are doing, if you want to just run some things past me in terms of the social media aspect of it, it doesn't have to do anything with restaurants. You can have a business that has nothing to do with restaurants. But if you're looking to sell, if you have a business, you have to be using social media and e-commerce. I'm learning these things recently. I've been in business all these years, but this is something, it's just been a shift. A lot of people, with the business, they say, well, why don't you go hand out some flyers on the corner? You don't hand out flyers. People don't want you handing anything anymore right now. It could be dangerous. So people don't even want to accept things. You have to hit their Facebook page, their Instagram page. It seems like every day there's a new type of platform. TikTok. These are the things we have to, and I can help you with that regardless of your business. There's a sister in our community that sells candles. I'm helping her get on social media where she can advertise and promote her business. These things are key, and it's not expensive to advertise on Facebook and social media. It's less expensive than the traditional ways of printing postcards or mailing things or radio or newspaper ads. Okay.
Yeah. I thank you so much for this. I thank you for your presentation today. It was really eye-opening to sort of see where we are going in terms of shifting and really being a part of this new technology as it relates to our businesses. So thank you so much for being with us today. As always, we would love to have you back on Study Al-Islam for more in the future. For those of us who have experienced this, if you want to know more about the brother, his bio is in the newsletter. So please check out the newsletter. His information was shared in the chat earlier. We would love to see you at a time to be grateful, brother. There's some opportunities to be a part of perhaps the business breakfast. So I'll have someone reaching out to you in reference to that. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay, you're welcome. And it's a pleasure to speak to my community. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just going to give a few announcements. As it stands, we do have many events that are coming up in our community, and we just want to keep those ever present before you. Some of them have happened this weekend. So we know that the conveners are in Orlando this weekend with their presentation. We know that the Masjid in Texas has had their anniversary. Actually, and I mentioned that Sister Fitrah was in Orlando, but she's actually in Texas. So I'm making that correction. But support the events in our community. We have a time to be grateful coming up. We hope to see you all there. Next week, our speaker will be Imam Omar Shakir from San Antonio, Texas. And his topic will be Choose Faith over Fear. So inshallah, we would love to see you with us next week as we have Imam Omar Shakir come on and present to us from that topic. Until next week, be blessed. Keep Allah first. We're going to have Imam Salim close us out with a dua and keep the people who are in conflict in Palestine and the Israeli area in mind. And so, Imam Salim, if you can come off of mute and close us out with a dua.
Oh Allah, we pray for recognition and upliftment for the humanity of all peoples in Israel and Palestine. We pray for the ceasefire from Hamas and Israel. We pray for the basic needs be provided to the Gazans. We pray that the United States provide only humanitarian support to Israel and Gaza. And finally, we pray for the creation of a movement that recognizes and affirms the humanity, dignity, and desire of both peoples to live in peace through reconciliation and justice. Ameen.
Ameen. Until next time, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Have a great week.